So, one of my favorite guys right now in the Star Wars universe, because he is almost unstoppably likable, is John Boyega. Just an unstoppably likable guy with this incredible contagious enthusiasm and joy for life. You know, he's just a really good guy, and I've loved the few chances I've had to actually be around him. A lot of questions have been coming up lately about, okay, after Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, could we see Poe, Rey, and Finn together or separate in their own Disney Plus Star Wars shows? Of course, we're in the throes right now of Mandalorian, one of the most popular shows in the world, the most in-demand show in the world, according to the reports. Could they be going there? A lot of us thought maybe, maybe not, blah, blah, blah. Well, John Boyega was recently sat down and interviewed and asked about that specific thing, about the possibility of going Disney Plus and whatever. And John Boyega said the following: "You ain't gonna Disney Plus me." You ain't gonna Disney Plus me, he said emphatically. And on top of all that, he wrote this: I ain't getting no Disney Plus. He says, "I'm watching it though, but I stay in the feature films." I watch it though. Now, I want to be very, very clear to mention his tone as he was saying this. He wasn't, "You're not gonna Disney Plus me, I'm staying in the feature." No. The tone was very jovial. He was laughing. "You ain't gonna Disney Plus me. I mean, I'll watch Disney Plus. I watch Disney Plus, but I'm gonna stay in the feature films." And I found it really interesting because it's the first time that I believe we have heard voice given to what I suspect is actually a larger feeling amongst a lot of people in Hollywood than they're willing to admit right now, which is, I think there are more people in Hollywood in the upper echelons that still probably don't know how to look at the whole streaming phenomena, even with the incredible success of the launch of Disney Plus. And you get somebody like a John Boyega, who is anything but a stuck-up, snobbish idiot, saying things that you would think would come out of the mouth of a snobbish, stuck-up idiot. So I just thought it was very, very fascinating to hear. So clearly, that answers the question. You're not going to see a Finn Disney Plus show. I mean, that answers that question right there. But Rob, let me ask you this. You hear John Boyega's commentary here. You hear what he had to say. Does it surprise you? Do you think maybe, you know, we got to take it with a certain grain of salt? Or do you think, no, we got to look at it even more heavily and more seriously? I don't know. What do you think about the comments?
Well, look, I grew up loving movies. I think we all grew up loving movies, and when I wanted to get into the entertainment business, I wanted to make theatrically released motion pictures because that was the only game in town. That we had direct-to-video, and streaming didn't exist. And everybody wanted to make movies. That was like being in the Olympics and getting into your movie into a movie theater and making a low-budget indie darling, whether it was Halloween, that was at the time one of the most successful indie movies ever made, whether it was Steven Soderbergh's Sex, Lies, and Videotape, which broke new ground for independent cinema and opened the way for people like Kevin Smith and Quentin Tarantino to rise to prominence. I mean, everybody wants to make movies. Anybody who says they don't is lying. Movies are the thing. However, that said, the world has changed. And the one thing about a streaming service is anybody that wants to, if you want to act, you want to direct, you want to write, you want to tell stories to the widest amount, the biggest audience you can. And unfortunately, that world has changed. And the biggest audience in the world now is on streaming services and cable. And HBO, Game of Thrones, watched all over the world. Netflix is global. You make a movie now, you can have millions of people see your low-budget independent movie than would ever have seen it in a movie theater, no matter how many movie theaters it is ever going to get in. And while I want to sit in a theater and see the lights come down and listen to a crowd react as I sit amongst them with something I've worked on, I will always want that. The world has changed, man. And where do you think The Rise of Skywalker, the sequel trilogy, where are more people going to see it over the next decade? On Disney Plus. He's going to be on Disney Plus. He's already on Disney Plus. I mean, Last Jedi is about to drop on Disney Plus. Force Awakens is already on Disney Plus. So I understand where he's coming from because I feel exactly the same way. You know, I'm just finishing up a low-budget indie movie. I'd love to see it in theaters all across the world. It ain't going to get there. As much as I love it, the kind of indie movie that I've been working on is just not going to play in theaters. And that's a reality. And I think everybody needs to adjust to that reality and think about the fact that what we really want is our work to be seen and enjoyed by the most number of people.
I think there's two things here for us to look into. Number one, I get where he's coming from because even Martin Scorsese with The Irishman, which is getting Oscar buzz and all that kind of thing, you know he wanted that in theaters. You know Scorsese wanted that in theaters. He didn't want it going straight to streaming, but that's where it is. And he's getting great acclaim for it. He's getting Oscar buzz. The film might even win some Oscars. So I get it. So I get it on that. There's still this sense that the prestige thing is the big screen. I get that. The thing that concerns me about the comments Boyega made, and again, I think Boyega's great. I think he's great. Not just a great performer. I think as far as the limited exposure I've had to being around, he's a great personality that's just infectious to be around. I really do. But that said, there is a lot of audiences right now, guys, that are loving the streaming culture. They're loving this new thing, and particularly with the launch of Disney Plus and all that kind of stuff. To come out and say to fans, I don't want none of that. I don't want none of that. No, you keep me away from that. I'm going to be over here. I liken it unto, and maybe this is a little harsh, if he's talking about your sister and saying, I ain't going to date that. I ain't dating her. I mean, no offense to her. I'll hang out with her, but I want to date hot women. I mean, you're going to be insulted. And I think Boyega's got to be a little bit careful here about, and again, he was trying to be jovial and all that kind of stuff. But again, I just think he needs to be very cautious and careful because he's referring to something that a lot of people really love right now and are really into. And these comments can be taken very negatively, particularly if you just read his comments and don't see it the way he kind of spoke it. Aaron, as an actress and a performer in this business who has been on a movie screen, who's been on the television screen and all that kind of stuff, when you hear Boyega say something like that, what do you take away from it? And what would you, if you had to give some advice to Boyega here, what would it be?
Well, the first advice that I would have is for anyone's sister that Boyega didn't want to date, I would say, girl, you don't need him. Go run your own business and become the CEO of a company. Don't worry about him. But, you know, you said that he's not a selfish, or I don't remember the exact thing that you said, selfish and whatever, something idiot. I don't know him. I've never met him. I'm glad that you've had good experiences with him, and I'm sure that he is a really lovely guy. But what he said was really dumb because, wow, as an actor, what a slap in the face to Pedro Pascal and Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan and
McGregor.
McGregor, like all of these really accomplished and well-respected actors who are like, absolutely, Disney Plus, sign me up. Because you know what? Actors want to act. Writers want to write. And the belle of the ball at this dance may not get asked to dance 2 years from now. There was a really amazing show back before streaming, and maybe it'll like have a resurgence on streaming somehow, called Sunday Morning Shootout. And it was with
Peter Bart.
Yeah, Peter Bart and Peter
Goober.
Yes, Peter Bart and Peter Goober. And
it was essential viewing.
Of course you knew that.
Brilliant. Yes, of course. I mean, well, you probably watched it every Sunday,
well,
like
they were
I did.
Studio executives, Peter Goober.
One was
the
editor of Variety, and one was the head of a studio. And they really gave like real time, this is what's going on. It was kind of like, it was trying to be the John Campea Show.
But from a business perspective.
From a business perspective. And they had Cuba Gooding Jr. on, and this was such an incredible episode. I'm so glad that I saw it, because he was talking about what happened to his career. And he said that after he did Jerry Maguire, he was offered the lead in Amistad. And he said that he turned it down because he said, I'm not going to play a slave. And he said, now
we have Jaimon Hansu, everybody.
Right, and these are not my words. These are Cuba Gooding Jr.'s words. Please keep that in mind. He said, I got so much attention of being the guy that like stuck it to the white man in Jerry Maguire. He said, I felt like I would be I would be betraying myself or my community if I just turned around and played a slave. And he said, what I realized is that that role was not just playing a slave. And he said, and I also realized that in Hollywood, you don't say no to Steven Spielberg. And there's certain companies, Disney being a big one, that you don't just kind of go, I'm good, thanks. Because like I said, what's hot one minute, we all can name a million actors who
Cuba Gooding being one of the good examples of it.
Of someone who, was standing on stage with gold in his hand and then was really having to mea culpa and, and ask for roles again. And, going back to the theater and really trying to remind people, hey, I'm a really good actor and I really deserve to be given the same opportunities before. Because whereas one person will say, I'm too good for that, there's another person in line that's like, hi, I'll do that role just fine. So I really think that joking or not joking, you really got to be careful with that kind of stuff because Robert's right. Streaming is the way of the now. And I was so impressed about the Bond trailer. I didn't get a chance to talk about this, but one of the moments that I was like, God damn, was that moment when Rami Malek just turns and looks and you see that he's the bad guy. And I'm like, you go, Rami. You go, honey. Because that kid started off, no one knew who he was. Mr. Robot allowed him to be in a position to then go on and do an Academy Award winning turn in Bohemian Rhapsody. And now that man is so recognizable and so exciting to viewers that he doesn't even have to say one word and people get amped up to see him in a movie trailer for one of the most anticipated films that's coming out this year. So if you think that streaming doesn't have the power to elevate an actor's career, I mean, streaming is where actors' careers are being brought back from the dead. Hi, Jessica.
Stranger Things.
Yeah. Matthew Modine in Stranger Things. An entire new generation.
Winona Ryder.
Absolutely. An entire generation who's never seen Beetlejuice is like, oh my God, Winona Ryder, the girl from Stranger Things, the mom. I think it's very short-sighted. I think he's going to learn very quickly that I would not be surprised if we see him walking back that comment very, very soon.
And also, can I just speak to what you just so eloquently put? That was a great example with Cuba Gooding Jr. Look at Bryce Dallas Howard. She's starring in the Jurassic World movies, coming back for Jurassic World 3. Those movies, the first one made $1.5 billion. She got to direct her first episode of The Mandalorian.
I saw that.
She's building up an additional career like Olivia Wilde is. Mm-hmm. You have these actresses who are leveraging their ability in one medium to come and start whole new careers for themselves. And that's what the new world is about. You can no longer rely on the fact that I'm going to be a movie star for my life. You need to duck and feint and do all kinds of things because the world needs multifaceted people. Aaron, you've jumped between television and movies. You're not going to sit there and go, I'm not going to take a role on Dynasty because I'm only a big screen actor. Like you said.
Which, by the way, airs tonight.
Yes.
Thank you for bringing that up. Nice side note. CW tonight. I'll be on Dynasty, and I had a great time. It was super fun.
I edited. I'm finishing a feasture film as a producer and an editor, but my friend's short movie that I also edited debuts on the Dust Network next month. And it has 1.5 million subscribers. How many people get to see short films? I didn't sit there and tell my friend, "No, I'm not going to edit your short because I only cut feature films now." I mean, no.
That's what you told me.
Well. You're different.
I did a table read with oh God, who's the guy from Monk? He just Tony Shalhoub. I did a non-paid table read of a feature script that may or may not ever come out, and they asked him to do it, and he was like, "Sure, I don't have anything else to do that day. I'll come by and do it." Why? Because actors act. And yes, of course, we all have certain things. There are certain things that I have to say, I'm sorry, I won't do that because you want to always be upping your game. But streaming is not taking a lower step. Not anymore.
I think the key thing here is my big takeaway in all this is this. I don't believe John Boyega by any stretch of the imagination. I don't believe for a second he meant any insult. I don't believe he meant any disrespect. I don't believe he meant to cast a lot of shade. I don't think that was his intention. But he's going to have to walk away from this and sit down with his representation, just like a quarterback after an NFL game, sit down and look at the game film and go, I just did something really stupid. Because I think the key point here is one that you actually brought up, Aaron. Ewan McGregor is sitting somewhere right now. Ewan McGregor, who just popped the world, coming out on stage at D23 saying, I'm coming back as Obi-Wan Kenobi for Disney+. Obi-Wan Kenobi is sitting in there in the world somewhere right now, Ewan McGregor, and seeing John Boyega going, oh, Disney Plus has believed me. And he's feeling insulted right now. And Pedro Pascal is feeling insulted right now. Again, I don't believe for 1 second that was John Boyega's intention, but let's face it. You say stuff that you regret you said every day, and so do I, and I think this has got to be one of those times. And Aaron, I think you're 100% right. He's got to get back, sit down, look at the game film, talk to his representation, and he's got to walk these comments back somehow, some way, because I don't think he meant to do it, but he did it, so he better get that back. Anyway,
and
guys,
the people that run Disney, they hear that loud and clear, and it doesn't just, and they're not going to go, oh, he doesn't want to do Disney Plus. They're going to go, oh, got it.
Yeah.
By the
Note
way,
taken.
You brought up Tony Shalhoub. I just want to point out that The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel season 3, speaking of streaming, dropped today. Dropped today.
All right, guys, listen, we need to move on here, but I want to know what you guys think. You hear these comments from John Boyega. What are your thoughts on it? Jump down in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts.